Thank you to our sponsor, Wesco. We appreciate them making this event possible. A couple housekeeping details for today. We do encourage audience questions throughout the webcast. To submit questions, please navigate to the Q&A Ask Questions module. That should be in the bottom of your screen. Your handouts can be downloaded from the related content module. There's also a couple of extra links in there from our sponsor that you can feel free to browse as well. You can earn a CEU today, and to successfully earn 0.1 CEUs, you must attend the entire webcast. You can download your certificate at the completion of the webcast in the Earn Certification module. That should be on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. This is also being recorded. It will be archived at facilitiesnet.com, so watch for that. It should be posted within about 24 hours. We also have a few polling questions today. We encourage you to participate in these polls. Your participation is greatly appreciated. Those will be coming up shortly. And now let me introduce our presenter today, who is Leanne Gordon. She is the Manager of Technical Sales with Wesco. Let me get to that slide too. Here we go. Leanne is a certified energy manager with a foundation in mechanical engineering with 15 plus years in the energy and utilities sector. She's an accomplished technical sales and solutions professional with proven acumen in driving complex programs and delivering impactful technical solutions. At Wesco, she leads cross-functional initiatives to accelerate deal cycles, enhance customer satisfaction, and improve operational efficiency. Her background includes significant contributions in program management, partner integrations, technical documentation, and stakeholder communication, consistently improving scalability and business outcomes. And that's enough from me. So with that, Leanne, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate that. As Paul said, my name is Leanne Gordon. I'm Manager of Technical Sales here at Wesco, and I'm excited to walk you through this topic that's becoming increasingly critical across the facility management space. Today's discussion centers on next-gen facility management, specifically how organizations can embrace knowledge transfer and technology enablement to strengthen their operations. As systems become more interconnected, workforces shift, and digital tools accelerate, facility leaders are facing new challenges, but also major opportunities. What we'll explore today is how to bridge the gap between legacy expertise and emerging technologies, and how to future-proof your operations, and how to empower the next generation of facility managers to work smarter, not harder. This session is designed to give you practical insights you can take back to your teams in a clearer picture of how technology and structured knowledge transfer can elevate your facilities for the long term. Let me start by setting the stage for today's session. Across the facilities industry, technology innovation is moving faster than ever, and it's reshaping how buildings are managed, optimized, and supported. As tools emerge and older systems age out, many organizations are beginning to reevaluate their operations, especially as they face growing skills gaps and the retirement of seasoned facility managers. What we're focusing on today is how to navigate the shift in a practical, strategic way. We'll start by looking at how a strong knowledge transfer strategy can empower your teams. We'll discuss how current facility management, labor workforce trends, and next generation facility management training and education is evolving. We'll cover how to assess the current state of your facility operations, your systems, your processes, and the health of your data. Because before you can modernize or automate anything, you need to know what you're working with. Next, then we'll dig into the impact of bad data. A lot of facilities rely on outdated, inconsistent, or incomplete system data, and that can seriously limit decision-making. We'll talk about why data health assessments matter and how they influence performance, reporting, and long-term planning. Finally, we'll cover how embracing digital innovation can support facility management, training, and education. The goal isn't just to introduce new tools, it's to help your next-gen facility managers work smarter, operate more efficiently, and stay aligned with broader organizational KPIs. By the end of the session, you'll have a clearer understanding of how technology and structured knowledge transfer can strengthen your operations today and build a stronger foundation for tomorrow's workforce. So before we dive into how digital innovation can address, skill shortages, it's important to ground ourselves in what's happening in facility management workforce today. The reality is that the industry is undergoing a major demographic shift. The average facility manager is in their mid-50s, which means a large portion of FM workers are nearing retirement. At the same time, the U.S. retirement age has increased, which is keeping some professionals working longer, but not long enough to offset the knowledge gap that's forming as seasoned experts exit the field. Now, on top of all of that, organizations are rapidly adopting AI and digital tools. 88% are now using AI in at least one business function, which is raising expectations for FM teams and shifting the skills required for these roles. But here's the challenge. While technology adoption is rising, younger talent entering the FM space is not keeping pace. We've seen a real shift away from traditional four-year degrees towards trade school enrollment, which has increased nearly 5% since the pandemic. It's positive momentum, but still not enough to close the widening experience gap. So the question becomes, how do we equip the next generation with the technical knowledge and the operational context and the data literacy they need to step confidently into these roles? And how do we ensure that the systems and data they inherit is accurate, actionable, and aligned with organizational goals? That's the challenge that we're here to solve. And it's exactly where digital innovation and modern knowledge transfer strategy becomes essential. So here's kind of a quick poll to kind of see where everybody's at. So if you wouldn't mind going through that and reading through the questions, and then we can kind of go over the results, and that'll kind of tailor our conversation for today.
That poll should be up on the screen. Thanks. I don't know, McKenna, if you can hear, do you want to jump in?
Yep, sorry about that, everyone. But before we go any deeper into today's topic, I'd love to get a quick pulse from you. Digital innovation can mean very different things depending on your organization, your industry, or even your day-to-day responsibilities. So with this question, you'll see a few examples of what digital innovation might look like within facility management. Take a moment to choose the option that best reflects where your facility management operations are today. There's adopting technology, AI, and the like to do more with less. Greater use of data dashboards to validate, centralize, and manage data, greater use of real-time facility systems data, use of digital twins to retrofit outdated building legacy systems with new connected devices and systems, or other. And if you have another, feel free to put it in the Q&A panel.
Fantastic. So it looks like it's mostly greater use of data dashboards to validate and centralize and manage data, which is fantastic for what we're about to talk about today. So on this slide, I want to emphasize just how broad and interconnected the facility management disciplines really are. When we talk about facilities, we're not just talking about a single function, and I'm sure most of you know this. But we're talking about an entire ecosystem of responsibilities and that often sit across different teams, divisions, and even external partners. You have project management, property management, transaction management, portfolio management, and increasingly technology enablement. And each one of it has its own systems, workflows, data sources. Some of it might be outsourced, some of it might be internal. The challenge for many organizations is that these functions typically operate in silos. Different teams own different paths of the operations. They use different platforms. They follow different processes. That fragmentation makes it difficult to get a clear, accurate, real-time picture of what's happening across your facilities. And that's where the struggle begins. Gaps form between departments, data becomes inconsistent or duplicated, decisions get made without full visibility, and efficiency suffers because no one has the whole story. This is exactly why central intelligent management is becoming so important. By centralizing these systems and connecting the dots across FM functions, organizations can finally break down those silos, improve data accuracy, and streamline operational performance. So as we move forward, keep this structure in mind. because the more complex and fragmented your environment is today, the greater the opportunity for digital innovation to simplify, standardize, and elevate your facility operations. Now let's shift into what digital innovation is actually doing for facility management today. We're seeing organizations adopt facility management software not just as a convenience, but as a way to eliminate inefficiencies, reduce redundancies, and improve operational performance tracking. When your systems are connected, your data is cleaner, and your workflows are aligned, your teams get time back, and you get visibility you simply didn't have before. We're also seeing a major impact from AI across multiple business functions, whether it's supply, IT, or service development. AI implementations have shown significant cost decreases and impressive revenue increases. These aren't small improvements. They're meaningful shifts that are influencing how organizations think about facility operations and long-term planning. Another big driver of efficiencies is continuous commissioning. This allows facility teams to optimize maintenance schedules, diagnose issues earlier, and even take remote actions like adjusting dampers or resolving alarms before they become a bigger problem. It's a perfect example of how digital tools allow FMs to work more proactively rather than reactively. The momentum behind the digital innovation is only growing. 70% of facility managers globally are now elevating digital transformation to a core strategic priority. That tells us it isn't a trend. It's the new baseline of how facilities will operate moving forward. The key takeaway is digital innovation isn't about adding more technology for the sake of it. It's about giving facility managers the tools to automate manual tasks, make better informed decisions, and ultimately create smarter, more efficient, more resilient buildings. It's not a matter if organizations adopt these technologies, it's when.
Then we do have another poll question. Now that we've talked about how the FM workforce is changing and how technology is reshaping expectations, we'd like to get a quick read on where all of you stand today when it comes to knowledge transfer within your own organizations. So, what does your current facility management knowledge transfer strategy consist of? Is it use of AR, VR, or extended reality to create simulated trainings for next-gen facility managers and train the workforce? Organizational facility manager internship or apprenticeship opportunities? Greater recruitment for facilities management performance or data analyst roles? Use of software/systems to operationalize your business? Or no existing strategy in place. So just take a quick minute and select the option that best reflects where your organization is today.
Okay, so it looks like it's a little bit of a mix of everything. And kind of those middle three, which I thought we might be at, where you're using software to kind of operationalize your business. You might be trying to leverage some other programs to kind of help new facility management kind of come into your organization. That's all really cool to hear. The reality is that all of these elements combined all encompass what today's organizations are considering within their facility management training strategy. Today's facilities require a blend of hands-on experience and digital enablement. We're seeing more organizations adopt simulated AR/VR based training, which allows new facilities professionals, especially the younger generations, to learn in immersive, realistic environments. We also have structured learning options and other module training programs that help build foundational facility management knowledge in a consistent, scalable way. We talked about IFMA a little bit earlier, but the association offers their DIY-based FM Essentials module-based training course, where the students can control the pace of their training. Another example of AI-powered coaching, some next-gen facility management talent entering the workforce is using such tools to increase their chances of landing a job. Organizations can also leverage it to upskill their new hires, providing on-demand guidance, step-by-step operational support, and real-time decision assistance as they navigate complex systems. Beyond digital tools, traditional development paths still play a critical role. Apprenticeship and internship programs help create a pipeline of new talent. External conferences and accredited training training provide continuous educational credits and expose teams to the latest advancements across industry organizations, like you all are earning today. And finally, one of the most important yet often overlooked components is on-the-job training with real facility systems. This includes exposure to facility systems that can streamline operations and, most importantly, help teams learn how to identify and rule out bad data. The organizations that succeed in developing next-gen facility managers are those that combine traditional knowledge, hands-on experience, and modern digital tools to empower their teams to learn faster, operate smarter, and make better decisions. Up to this point, we've talked a lot about the workforce shifts happening in facility management and the need for stronger knowledge transfer strategies. Another important part of that conversation is how we prepare the next generation facility managers through formal education and accredited training programs. On the left, you'll see a mix of traditional four-year universities and trade or certificate-based programs, all of which play an important role in developing FM talent. Many of you may be attending the NFMT East Conference in Charlotte in March. So UNC Charlotte is one of the institutions offering FM-aligned programs. This kind of local academic support is essential for cultivating talent within the community and preparing students for real-world facility operation roles. Many of the universities listed offer degree paths in facility management, construction management, sustainable building systems, and related disciplines. Like where I went to school in Boston, Northeastern University offers a wide variety of training courses, as well as a sustainable building systems master's program. On the right, you see a list of trade schools and technical certificate programs. Again, we mentioned this at the start of today's webinar of how student enrollment in trade schools is going up. With such options, they can choose shorter, skills-focused programs that lead to FM credentials, such as Pro FM certification. These programs tend to attract individuals who want hands-on, career-ready training, and increasingly important given the rising demand of technical FM skill sets. What's encouraging is that more institutions are recognizing FM as a unique and specialized field, something that wasn't the case even a decade ago. And as we look at today's theme around knowledge transfer and next-gen preparedness, these educational paths are becoming critical in building a sustainable and better trained FM pipeline. The key takeaway is that facility management education is expanding, diversifying, and becoming more accessible, as organizations that tap into these programs will be better positioned to develop strong, future-ready teams. So now let's talk about another critical step in modernizing or knowledge transfer strategy, understanding the current state of your facility operations. A strong facility management assessment starts with a clear picture of your technical stack. That includes a number of on-site systems, the types of devices and equipment you're running, and where your data is actually coming from. Many organizations are operating with a mix of legacy and newer systems, and it's important to understand whether those systems are working the way they're supposed to, and which ones will need to be updated and replaced in the next 5 to 10 years. From there, the next question is, which KPIs are you actually accountable for? Beyond traditional operational metrics, many FMs are now responsible for organizational level KPIs, things like ESG and sustainability goals, supply chain impacts, or even security-related metrics. Each of these adds a new layer of data, reporting, and operational expectations. We then look at the bigger picture. Where do you want your facilities to be in the future? Are you planning to just do a cloud implementation, on-prem, off-prem, a hybrid model that can support a fully connected digital environment? Having a long-term vision, 10 to 15 years out, helps identify the milestones you need to put in place now. I like to call this trying to map out your big rocks, your little rocks, and your medium-sized rocks. Big rocks are your big milestones, medium-sized rocks are kind of how you get there, and the little rocks are the day-to-day things to help you get to that goal. One of the most important questions in this assessment stage is, can I trust the facility operations data that I have? Is it real-time or historical? Is it accurate or outdated? Do I have enough context behind the data to make the right decisions? Data is only as useful as if it's reliable, and many organizations struggle because the data they're using is incomplete, inconsistent, or siloed across multiple systems. This is where we often see real-world consequences. So I live in Central Florida, and if you don't know, about 2 weeks ago, we had a hard freeze, which is pretty rare. Actually, I think the last time it happened was sometime in the 70s. And because of that, one of our actual local clients here actually had 26 cracked evaporator coils after that event. And this is across their entire campus. Now, they knew the weather was coming. We all knew it was coming. But they knew that the conditions were going to be terrible. But they simply did not have the bandwidth or the systems in place to act on the information in the time they had. Competing priorities, limited visibility, and disconnected workflows make it hard for teams to be proactive, even when the data is technically available. So the goal of this assessment is to get you out of a reactive mode and into the position of where your systems, your data, and your long-term goals are aligned. Once you have that clarity, digital innovation can truly start to elevate your operations. Now that we've looked at how to assess the current state of your facilities, I want to show you what it looks like when we bring all that data and all those systems together in one place. What you're seeing on this slide is the foundation of how our IntraSim Central Intelligence Manager platform helps facilities move from fragmented silo operations to a unified strategic view of what's really happening across the organization. One of the biggest advantages of a platform like this is the ability to leverage predictive insights powered by over 250 industry best practices and fault detection and diagnostic roles. This allows teams to identify issues early, prioritize what matters, and shift from reactive firefighting to proactive decision-making. On top of that, IntraSim provides enterprise and portfolio level dashboards that give leaders real-time visibility into operational and strategic performance. Whether you're managing a single site or an entire campus, or even a global portfolio, you can get centralized views of your alarms, trends, equipment, and KPIs. Another strength in platforms is the platform's integrated ecosystem. With more than 120 software integrations, connections to 16 plus facility systems, and 50 plus API connectors, IntraSim brings together the data from systems that typically don't communicate. Legacy BAS systems, lighting, metering, IoT sensors, security systems, and more. Most facilities are juggling 8 to 10 disparate systems from building to building. And this integration capability finally breaks the cycle of disconnected data. If you're looking for more information about the full list of our integrations, there should be a link in the related content section that you see, and you can jump to our website and see all the different connectors that we have. The challenge with many smart systems is that they still operate in isolation. They may collect data, but the data isn't actionable, and in many cases, it's based on outdated or inconsistent inputs. That's where organizations get into trouble, making decisions off historical or incomplete information. IntraSim can solve that by normalizing data through standard practices like project haystack tagging. You can get a single source of truth that supports accurate analytics, reliable FDD, and consistent performance tracking across your facilities. And for next-gen facility managers just coming into the workforce, even having a view to access such systems, especially if this is their first role, can greatly accelerate their training. So part of this is the topic of kind of shadow meters versus smart meters. We hear this a lot in the industry, particularly when you're trying to figure out how much am I actually using, and then how does that feed into my overall goals of my facility. Traditionally, many buildings, especially in Europe, relied on shadow meters. These are installed and managed by building owners, independent of the utility. They do provide some visibility into energy or gas usage, but because they're not part of an integrated system, the data is often inaccurate, outdated, or incomplete. When those meters aren't maintained or calibrated regularly, you end up with data that can't be trusted. And that leads to incorrect predictions, missed anomalies, and higher operational costs. On the other hand, smart meters, typically provided by and managed by utilities, but sometimes you can have your own, deliver far more accurate, frequent, and real-time energy measurements. Because they feed directly into a smart grid system, they give organizations a much better insight into IT and OT operations, maintenance needs, and overall energy performance. This shift matters because energy managers have historically relied on digital twins or modeled assumptions to estimate peak load and usage patterns when real data wasn't available. But if the input data is wrong or only partially accurate, the digital twin can only be so helpful. It reinforces the same principle we've been talking about today. Your systems are only as reliable as the data behind them. We're also starting to see growing conversations around water usage efficiency, particularly in the Southwest, But you also see it here in Florida. You'd think we have a lot of water, but we don't know how to manage it, which has been prevalent in Europe for a while, but now is becoming more relevant here in the US. Accurate metering plays a huge role in how we manage water. So the key takeaway from this example is that whether you're talking about energy, water, environmental data, the move from isolated owner-managed meters to integrated smart meters is another critical step in eliminating bad data and building more reliable foundation for operational and sustainability decisions. As we transition to the next slide, think about the number of systems inside even a moderately complex environment like a greenhouse, and how much opportunity there is to unify those systems and eliminate the gaps that exist today. Centralized intelligence helps facility teams better align their sustainability goals with day-to-day operational decision-making. As you heard from the beginning, I spent the last 15 years in the energy and sustainability space, and this is definitely something you're starting to see come across everybody's desk, particularly in facility management over the last 5 years. One of the biggest challenges that facility managers face is trying to pull insights from multiple disconnected systems. Your BMS, meters, alarms, sensors, any sustainability reporting tools you may have. When all those systems operate independently, it becomes very difficult to track energy performance, identify inefficiencies, or understand the real operational impact of your greenhouse gases or sustainability KPIs. Central intelligence changes that by pulling all alarms, faults, zones, sensors, set points, and key environmental metrics into one unified system. Teams can finally see the full picture of how their facility is actually performing. This allows you to identify and prioritize alarm deficiencies, connect maintenance actions directly to sustainability outcomes, understand CapEx and OpEx implications in real time, track progress towards energy and emission reduction milestones, and make more informed operational and capital planning decisions. Instead of reacting to issues or guessing where your biggest sustainability opportunities might be, centralized intelligence gives you a clear, data-driven way to optimize operations while advancing your environmental and organizational goals. This becomes especially powerful for organizations that have set aggressive targets, whether they're reducing energy intensity and lowering carbon emissions or meeting broader ESG commitments. With centralized intelligence, your operational decisions and your sustainability KPIs are finally aligned. Centralized intelligence can also help facility managers decide which KPIs matter most for their specific environment. For some organizations, the priority is sustainability. That might mean tracking energy usage intensity, monitoring carbon emissions, or improving water usage efficiency. Many companies now have aggressive goals around net zero emissions and renewable energy targets for 2050 or even 2030. I like to say we're only 4 years away from that, and we're halfway to 2050. So if you've been working on it since 2000, you should be kind of finding some new systems to figure out how to get to those net zero goals. For others, the focus is on occupancy-related KPIs. Things like space utilization, comfort levels, real-time people tracking. These metrics can have a major impact on customer experience, operational efficiencies, and facility performance, especially in environments like higher education, corporate offices, healthcare settings, or even places like airports. What's important is to recognize that technology is what allows facility managers to balance all of those things. With the right systems in place, you can identify which KPIs align most closely to your business strategies, measure them accurately, and make data-driven decisions based on your facility's unique needs. And depending on your environment, a data center, a multi-building campus, a manufacturing facility, or a corporate office, the KPI mix might look different. The key is aligning your operational goals with the metrics that make the most sense for your organization. From a tech-enabled standpoint, technology and different available systems today can help facility managers better prioritize those KPIs that matter most to their specific roles and facilities. So just like central intelligence helps align sustainability goals, it also plays a major role in improving how we manage occupancy-related KPIs across campuses and building environments. Chatted a little bit about this in the last slide, but on this slide, we can see the different types of equipment, meters, UPSs, assets that need to be monitored and maintained inside this greenhouse environment that's here. From an operational standpoint, platforms like Entrosim give facility teams real-time visibility into what's happening across all their spaces, whether they're monitoring assets, understanding temperature or comfort level, or seeing how rooms and environments are actually being used throughout the day. I actually had a customer of mine explain to me that what he was seeing with one of his sites is that if he would get a hot cold call, he could actually see through his system whether or not that particular room had been hot or cold over the last 48 hours or more, or over the last week, and you could determine whether or not it was a people problem or a system problem. So, for example, some higher education campuses are also integrating classroom scheduling systems with your building automation data, which provides a cleaner picture of room occupancy, utilization, and comfort. This helps facility teams ensure that the heating and cooling and ventilation align with where the spaces are occupied and not just where they're scheduled to be. These kinds of insights enable teams to improve occupant comfort and experience, reduce unnecessary energy usage, and better manage and forecast space utilization, and also connect operational decisions directly to organizational KPIs. It's a great example of how technology doesn't just give you data, it gives you context. And that context helps facility managers make smarter, more proactive decisions. And as organizations become more focused on user experience, efficiency, and campus-wide performance, having one centralized source of truth is becoming increasingly important. So as we wrap up today, the biggest takeaway is that the future of facility management isn't about choosing between technology and human expertise. It's about combining the two of them. The balance of new technology and hands-on experience from today's facility managers is what will best set up the next generation for success. Technology gives us speed, clarity, and automation, but it's the practical knowledge of experienced FMs that provides the context and decision-making insight needed to keep operations moving. Digital innovation is already reshaping the industry. We're seeing how automation, real-time data, and predictive maintenance in integrated systems can dramatically increase efficiency. These tools help facility teams predict and prevent equipment failures, reduce downtime, improve safety and reliability, and ultimately save time, energy, and budget. And as organizations expand, whether across a campus, a region, or globally, facility stakeholders will increasingly rely on greater integrated connectivity between hardware, systems, and connected devices. That level of integration is what allows teams to scale performance, stay proactive, and deliver consistent operations regardless of their location. I like to say I would love to be able to give a facility manager the ability to control his buildings from Bora Bora. So that's what we're in the business of trying to do. So the path forward is clear. Organizations that blend modern tech enablement with intentional knowledge transfer will be the ones who build resilient operations and empower their next-gen facility managers to work smarter, not harder. If you're going to be at NFMT East in Charlotte, we'd love for you to have to swing by our booth and come chat with us. We have a nice team that's going to be there going over the whole platform. And yeah, I'm going to hand it back to McKenna for some questions.
Yep, we do have a few questions. If you have any that you would like to ask, just make sure to put it in the Q&A box. But we were asked, what if I have multiple greenhouse facilities I need to maintain? Can I configure my own view of sustainability or occupancy KPIs to monitor and track within the Intro CIM platform?
Yep. So Entrosim, the nice thing about that particular platform is it's user-based and also very configurable. So that dashboard that we saw on that page there, you can have that assigned to a particular user. So if that user logs in, they see a particular view, or you can have it set up for particular facilities. So maybe you have one user that sees multiple facilities and you want to drill down into each particular one, or make changes to the dashboard and that configuration depending on what you're looking at. So all of those things can be done within the Entrosim platform.
And then Tracy asks, can you request smart meters from your electric company?
It depends on the electric company. From what I've seen is that there's kind of a couple different ways to look at the network, particularly here in the US. When we start talking about smart metering and what your utility meters can do, you can usually see that within your own portal. So where you could log in. Some utility providers actually provide that as a view, so you can see it in more real time or connected with other shadow meters or things like that, or other your own smart metering technology. The other thing you can do is purchase meters from Wesco. We do provide all those types of meters, so you can kind of have your own independent smart metering technology, and then use that information to compare to what the utility is saying you're using, and be able to make those comparisons.
And then Kelly wants to know, if we have nothing integrated yet, where should we start?
So what I say is take a look at all of your systems and figure out what's digital and what's not. So if you take a look at your entire facility and say, okay, well, maybe I have a legacy BAS system. It can only be controlled by one laptop. It's, maybe older than 15, 20 years. Take a look at whether or not it makes sense to kind of upgrade that system. And then you can kind of take a look at all the different pieces and what's most important to you. So if your BAS is really important to you and how much you're using and what you're using and your facility comfort, start there. If you're dealing with something like, hey, I'm having security issues and I don't know what's going on with my cameras and I don't know what's going on with all my IT assets, then start there. So trying to figure out all the different pieces on what I like to call your chessboard, and figure out what pieces matter most, what pieces are connectable, which ones aren't, and then kind of start to put those priorities together so you can figure out, oh, maybe maybe these rooftop units that I have, they're legacy and I know I'm going to be replacing them in the next 5 years. Let's make sure that whatever I replace them with, they talk to a system that makes sense. So make sure that they're connected. Or maybe I'm installing new lights and it makes sense for them to be maybe tech enabled. You don't necessarily need to buy the software, but you can make sure that they can connect at some point. Or if you're trying to figure out kind of your asset management and what that looks like for you. So try to figure out what those priorities look like and how to shuffle that.
Mm-hmm. And then with all this data that we have available, how can we make it so that facility managers, especially ones that are newer to the industry, how can we make it more or less overwhelming for them?
Yeah, so having a central intelligence manager like Entrustim in place is great. One of the things that I've kind of seen a lot is that a lot of the legacy systems that are out there, think your Niagaras, your Metasys, those types of systems, they require a lot of knowledge base to understand what you're looking at. If you have a central intelligence system in place like Entrustim that's a little bit user-friendly, has a better front-end user interface, a lot of the noise that you see from some of those more legacy BAS systems gets filtered out automatically by that type of system. It can help you prioritize all the alarms you're getting to give you a much clearer picture of what's actually going on. You're like, oh, my damper in this room is closed, and so therefore I'm getting a cold call from the person that sits in that office. You can make more realistic connection points from all the different things you're getting. One of the things that I hear most from FMs is they spend probably 70 to 80% of their time running around fixing everybody else's problem, because everybody else's emergency becomes their emergency. So having a system like this in place allows them to kind of filter all that type of stuff out and allows them to better prioritize, which means new facility managers that are coming into this space, it allows them to use tech that they're already used to using and help them leverage that tech so that they can better do their job. And keeps them from having to know that you have to, turn that boiler setting to this particular point that someone put a piece of tape on, because that's like the sweet spot. Having a system like this in place kind of does all that type of back end work for you.
Mm. And then Fernando wants to know whether the gap is significant enough that some stakeholders still prefer paper-based tracking. How can organizations integrate change management for digitization? Oh my goodness, we all know what I'm trying to say. Such as dashboards and digital workflows. I'm so sorry, Leanne. While addressing
that's a tough one, especially when your tongue is hitting the roof of your mouth. So Fernando, I would encourage you to continue to push your team away from paper-based tracking. However, I know that that's sometimes a hard nut to crack. So having tools in place that one allows you to just digitize what they have. So like, just start there. Are you talking plans? Are you talking, other different pieces of data that's not digitized, trying to give yourself a central repository for all of that? Entrosim does have the ability to kind of store files in different sections of the platform. So some organizations will leverage technologies like this in order for them to kind of store everything in one place, so that if you have a new tech that comes in or someone comes in to look at a piece of equipment, they kind of have all the data around it. The other thing too is to try to meet your team where they're at. So if you find that them trying to do digital things is difficult, try to give them the tools and the dashboards that make sense, or help them with the workflows. So try to make it so that, okay, can I take this manual report that they're doing and can I digitize it for them so that it will feed into this other item that they're having to maybe manually transcribe. I see a lot of this when it comes to utility bill pay, as well as, tracking of utility rates and all that type of stuff, kind of automating that process of like, how much am I actually using? What am I doing to what's actually happening within your facility, and using a platform to help you do that, compare and contrast, can save a lot of time. I think that that's a really big thing for a lot of people, is how do I get time back? So I feel like I'm not having to do 60, 70, 80 hours a week in order to function. I can come back to normal, 30, 40 hour weeks, or even 40 to 50 hour weeks. So trying to kind of pull those pieces of data and try to meet them where they're at, to try to help them, do that. But I've seen it before. It's definitely difficult. Well, we've always done it this way, why is it a problem? Always comes into play. So keep up the good fight, Fernando.
And then Natalia wants to know, what if I only have legacy systems within my facility currently? Would it still be valuable for me to leverage this platform if my data is only historical?
Yeah, absolutely. Having all that historical data in one place is extremely helpful. So even if it's just storing only legacy data, maybe not real time, or you're kind of getting a little bit better at real time. I had a customer say to me that one of the biggest reasons why he was trying to put a system like this in place was that he got a phone call from his CFO. It was probably 2 months after the bill. Or after like the billing period. So we got a phone call, I don't know, like in April for a bill that was in February. And he said that his CFO asked why their gas bill was so high. Now this place is in Connecticut, so they've done a lot of work around energy efficiency. You'll see a lot of that in the Northeast. And he said it took him 3 hours to figure out what actually had happened. We'll come to find out his heat recovery system never kicked on. So even if he didn't have real-time actionable data, even if he just only had historical stuff, and maybe it was a couple day lag or a week lag, he would have been able to know prior to him getting a phone call 2 months later that something happened, that his gas usage was more than usual, that something didn't kick on. He would have been able to know. So he could have done one of the two things. He could have emailed his CFO and been like, hey, just so you know, we had a problem with the system. We fixed it, but the bill for February is going to be higher than we expect. Or at least he would have had an answer. And if he has a system like Entrosim in place, he wouldn't have spent 3 hours in his Niagara system trying to figure out what had actually happened. It would have been a little bit more in the forefront for him. It would have come through as an alert that says, hey, this is not where it's supposed to be.
And then we were also asked, submetering usually sounds like a good idea, but there are challenges like additional maintenance costs and the reliability of the different meters. How feasible do you think it is to invest in a large submetering project?
I think it depends on your use case. We have a lot of customers that do submetering. Maybe they have data centers is actually a perfect example. So a data center owner that we're working with, they're installing submeters because they're trying to shift from charging their customers for space and shift to usage. So you're right, there is some maintenance costs and things like that associated with it. But if you find a reliable submetering technology, which the technology we've seen in even the last 5 years is vastly superior to what we've seen, 10 years ago. they're using that data to help leverage those conversations with their clients about, here's how much you're actually using. This is how much we're actually charging you. We see this a lot in, large high rises in New York City where they have big sub-metering systems. On the flip side of that is that a lot of, depending on where you are in the country and some of the energy and sustainability reporting requirements, they require you to know how much is like your hallways. So if you have a mostly tenanted space, so they require you to know the difference between what you're responsible for, like hallways, common spaces, and what your tenants are responsible for. So they require that division, and they also don't want you to estimate it. So they want it to be as accurate as possible for all those reportings. So those types of use cases, you might have no choice. You have to install a sub-metering system because it has a different strategic value for you. It might not just be, hey, am I checking what's happening? The flip side of that is to work with a company that does all the sub-metering for you, does the operations, does the calibrations, makes sure that those meters are accurate and they're working the way that they're supposed to. That can kind of alleviate some of those additional costs where they're taking that burden and you're paying for that service. So there's definitely different ways to kind of invest in those different projects and different ways to think about, how do I leverage these different goals that are happening within my organization to kind of help maybe fund that project or help give you value or reasoning for it. So it really I would say it depends a lot on your use case.
And then, Leanne, I just have one last question for you.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Are there any expo or conferences that Wesco will be exhibiting at this year so we can see your products in real time?
So we'll be at NFMT, which is in Charlotte in March. We were at AHRI in Vegas a couple weeks ago. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure what's on our docket for this coming year. But that's definitely something that if you reach out to us on our website, we can get that information back to you. We would love to show you the platform. Wesco is a multi-billion-dollar company. We do a lot of distribution outside of the Entrusent platform. So we are at a lot of shows. A lot of different divisions are all over the place. So I'd highly recommend you kind of popping over to our website and see what else we can offer you, but also kind of fill out some contact information on our website, and we can reach back out to you and get you kind of those details, or even set up a demo.
Perfect. And just to remind everyone, they will be at NFMT East in Charlotte, March 10th through the 12th. We really hope that we can see you there. But I just want to thank everybody again for joining the webcast today. Just a reminder to receive your CEU certificate. You can download it from the Earn Certification module. Today's webcast will also be archived on facilitiesnet.com. It will be up within the next 24 hours. And with that, I will conclude today's event. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And stay safe and stay healthy and all that good stuff. Have a great rest of your day.